our parents parented one way. We're doing it differently, but the question is, are we improving things or are we just winging it? Let's talk about it right after this.
It's the Naybors podcast with Reese and Mike. They discussing different issues that affect our streets and life. Said it's the Naybors. We the Naybors. Yeah.
You.
Top of the morning.
What's going on, y'all?
People.
So, our question for today, do you think we're better dads than our fathers or just different? What are your thoughts, Mike?
That situation, it depends on certain things, but, it's like, our parents, they're still old school, but not that much knowledge as now.
Mm-hmm.
But, we more educated-wise, more focused on other things beyond, say, prime example, SDC. You have a conversation with your father. Well, I remember back in the day,
Right.
I used to do this. We used to have to do that. Like, that was back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You're talking about decades ago. Stuff is done. Like, everything is like, life is like an update, software update.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to acknowledge different things, different lifestyles. It's just like each day you can change your mind about something.
Right.
They're like, oh, yeah, But to be honestly, we more aware, more educated, more smarter than our parents.
I think, I don't know if I'm smarter. I think because I grew up in a single parent household, I don't have a true barometer.
Oh, understood.
You get what I mean?
Understood.
Of where I am versus where my father might have
Understood.
been. And so because of that, that has kind of hindered how I parent.
Gotcha.
You get what I mean?
Gotcha.
I might be way too much, or I might be way too little in certain areas, or whatever. I try to compensate for what I didn't get.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so because of that, and have I pushed my kids away to a degree? Probably.
I mean, depends. Depends. Because some kids they listen to you, but they don't want to listen to you.
Right.
But say, oh well, that's all back in the day. That's old. You know what? They say the same thing, but when they get our age, they probably say the same thing.
Right.
About us. They're smarter than us.
Yeah.
It depends. What platform they on, what street they want to walk down, and how they want to do their life, how they want to educate themselves, etc. But sometimes, with my daughter, that'll be another chapter. If our kids smarter than us, that'll be another story on that one. But like there's just certain area, there's certain upbringing in life. But like I say, our parents, they stuck in their old school ways and stuff that happened back then.
Right.
It's totally different now.
I mean, what do you think your dad did right?
That's a good one. That's a good one. 'Cause, my stepfather, he's African, and they got they got their ways of doing things,
Right.
But I learned from different culture, his background culture, and now. But sometimes, my father, that's stubbornness. Sometimes they hate to be wrong. They don't want to admit they wrong, but they're like, oh, okay, whatever.
Right.
He did quite through things like, try to bring us up the right way. This is how you do things. This is how you go get her. You gotta be go getter. You can't be sitting around be lazy. It's like flipping a coin. Be honestly.
I mean, and so because my dad, when he because he left totally, not totally, because he's a kind of halfway around now, but when I was a kid, I felt like he left me totally at the age of 6.
Okay.
That's the last time I had seen him.
Okay.
And but before that, with him and my mom being married, so it was just kind of hard because I'm a toddler, I'm,
Right,
whatever.
right.
And so the things that I had seen, because with him being in Vietnam War, he's a Vietnam vet. And so some of the things that he had experienced over there,
Gotcha.
just when it translated him coming back, it just wasn't a good environment.
It was bad back then for them. Yeah.
And so unfortunately things just didn't work out between him and my mom.
Right.
And so so like I said, it was rough.
Right.
So if he would have stayed around, was it better for him to leave? Probably,
yeah. Because the state of mind he was in, what he dealt with, what he was seeing,
right,
that plays a big factor.
And so that'll probably, from a kid perspective, that'll probably be the only thing he did right.
Gotcha.
Because if he would have stayed, I have no idea where we would have been.
Right.
Now here's what I think would have happened eventually. I think that I would have probably driven earlier in life.
Gotcha.
Because I remember being 4 or 5 years old, sitting on his lap, and me steering the car.
Yeah. Okay.
You get what I mean?
Okay.
Like literally, like he, so I probably would have been 10 years old driving the car, so. From a kid perspective, right? Like, hey, you know what? That would have been fun. Like, he was the best dad ever.
Right.
But then you get older, you're like, oh shoot.
Right.
So are there some things where I'm just like, you know what? That probably was the best thing.
Right. Understood. Like, everybody is not perfect. You try to do the best the way to deal with certain scenarios, situations, right. And sometimes it's kind of hard, especially when you're a little kid. You really don't know what's going on.
Right.
They basically, because back then, situations like that, they just painting a picture. You just like, okay, this the channel I want to watch, or what should I do?
Right.
You just sitting there. You're on the bench.
Right.
So,
and so because of that, the flip side of that, is there anything that I said to myself that I didn't want to repeat? So I didn't want to be, I didn't want my kids to grow up in a very negative environment.
Understood. Yeah.
And so unfortunately, there were some, domestic violence type things.
Understood. Yeah.
You get what I mean? And so I did not want to have my kids in that environment.
Gotcha.
And I didn't want to be in a position or a place like, even though my wife and I, we had some arguments and all that type of stuff, but I never really, and the D word did come up. Divorce did come up, a few times.
Gotcha.
And unfortunately, sometimes, you can't help it. You get what I mean? Because of emotions being high and all that type of stuff.
Right.
But, in all reality, I didn't want to have my kids grow up in that environment.
Gotcha.
Sometimes you can't help it.
Right.
Right. But I didn't want my kids to be in that space. So that's something that I know that for myself, I know that I did not want to repeat that idea of a broken home for my kids moving forward.
Gotcha. Understood.
Anything about yourself that you think that you didn't want to repeat?
Nah.
Okay.
Honestly, because I would like to think, my mom was, my mom was a single parent for a minute, then my stepfather. And one thing he did good, he taught me a trade. Got me into printing, working at a printing company.
Okay.
Back then it was called Citywire Press up on used to be out Northeast up on the boulevard there in Nabisco.
Okay.
But we had our moments. We had my moments, and certain things he just like, it's like my mom had to do everything.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I mean, cool.
Yeah.
They had their moments, but I don't think I was just sitting on the bench and just looking at them like sometimes you want to do something, but you can't.
Right.
But you can't.
Well, I think some of that is, just again my own experience, because again, my mom went into other relationships that were not always the healthiest either.
Right.
And like you said, you want to do something, whatever, but then you get older, you're like, oh shoot, this is what relationships are like, huh?
Yeah.
They're not easy.
They're not easy. They're not easy.
And then you get caught up in, again, as a kid, it's my fault. I want to do, whatever.
Right.
And I can't help or whatever. And then you get older, you be like, listen, I don't like their attitude.
Right.
Whatever, and just kind of like, and so like I said, for my kids, I just didn't want my kids to see that and experience that.
Right.
I didn't want them to feel like, hey, you know what? My mom and my dad, this thing happened, that thing happened, or whatever, all because of me. And sometimes you don't know, especially when you're an adult, sometimes your emotions do take over.
It do. It does.
And so now how do you manage that moving forward? So when I look back, yes, I felt like, the reason why my mom and my dad got separated was because of me. And for whatever reason. I mean, I can remember so many different moments that just was not the greatest. You get what I mean?
Gotcha.
And so now it's like, all right, here's where the wife and I, like, we're having a conversation, and it has some things to do with the kids, but it's not everything.
Gotcha.
And so I gave you an example. So I remember one discussion of we're trying to pay our bills or whatever it is, and you start looking at how what the costs are for everything. You're like, what we didn't pay is that we didn't pay the child care bill.
Right.
We didn't pay daycare. And so so how do you change that? Like, how do you do that?
Right.
And now it's a whole big old argument. And so now, unfortunately, I remember this one conversation where we're talking about that, and I started mentioning, like, bad behaviors.
Okay.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, one of the kids were having in that child care place. And I could kind of see, reflecting back, like, if they heard that conversation, I could see why they would feel like it's about them.
Right.
You get what I mean? Right. Because, if we're yelling or talking forcefully, it's not really yelling, but, talking forcefully, or because when she or I, we're not really screamers or not like that, and so heard the tone or whatever, like, I could see where, as a kid, if you're in bed, because we had the conversation while they were in bed, and you wake up automatically out of your sleep, you hear your parents talking or whatever it is, and you hear them saying your name or whatever else, now you're like, well, that's about me, whatever.
Right.
And so I really wanted to make sure that, my kids didn't feel like that was them, but I couldn't help it, though.
Right. I mean, because that stuff out there is, like, basically got an anger and, stress. Like, sometimes you say things, then you're like, damn, I shouldn't have said that. Right. And you feel, you regret saying it, but it's kind of hard to apologize because the way the air is, it's foggy. You be like, damn, I gotta wait for it to clear up. Right. And it's tough.
It is, most definitely. I mean, and I think that's where, for myself, I got so laser focused on not wanting to be like my father.
Right.
And that experience that I forgot how to be in a relationship for me.
Understood. Yeah.
You get what I mean? Yeah. And so, so in that, in some ways, because I don't know if y'all caught it or not, but this show today is about, whether or not we're smarter dads or softer dads. And I think because of what I did not experience, or I did experience as a kid, I think I became softer in some ways.
Okay. Only person would know is you.
Right.
So I can't say you soft because I'm on the outside looking in.
Right. Now, how about yourself? You think you're softer or smarter? Or?
I think I'm kind of smarter.
Okay.
Smarter, but I don't want to overdo it.
Right.
Because you too smart, it can get hurt you.
Right.
Get hurt you. I mean, you're too smart, you think you know everything, you think you know how to do everything, but nah. I just say I'm mediocre. Yeah, I'm mediocre. Yeah.
I mean, no, and I get what you're saying. Like, you don't want to just say, "Hey, you know what? I'm smarter," and you don't budge.
Right. That's where that's that selfishness. Like oh no, well no.
Right.
It's basically something with your pride. Well, no, the way I see it, this is how it's supposed to be,
Right.
and blah blah blah. Nah. Nobody's 100%. No one.
And I think that's part of the challenge. Even with that, again, we get so focused on us.
Right.
Our feelings are hurt or whatever that we don't deal with it.
That's the problem.
And we don't acknowledge, and because we don't deal with it, that means we don't acknowledge it.
Right.
And unfortunately, it affects our relationships, especially with our kids.
True. This is true. Yeah.
And so, I keep having these conversations with my son recently. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, can you just sit back and listen? You get what I mean?
Like I stated, they listen, but they don't listen.
Right.
Yeah.
But the thing is like now I realize, like, all right, you know what? You over 21. You'll figure it out.
And that's what you got to do. You got to hit on them. You got to learn. You got to learn. If you can be the hard way, be the hard way. You got to learn on your own.
Right. I mean, so I think, are there some things that I'm softer in, or has made me, I feel like sometimes a softer father? Yes. Now, but again, I don't have that barometer to say, compared to him, am I softer? I don't know.
Right. Like I stated earlier, the only person would know is you. And
then being smarter for myself, again, smarter in reference to what?
Exactly.
So am I smarter book knowledge wise? Well, yes, I have some college education.
Right.
He has some college education.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So when we talk about book stuff, and just so happen there are some things that are very similar with the two of us.
Right.
Some of his artistic talent I have, some of his what I don't have from an artistic perspective is being able to build everything.
Right. Okay.
So there's some things I've seen that him build and draw and map out and art. While he has it way more than I have.
Right, because you're not going to be the same to the T.
Right.
You're never going to be the same to the T.
And so that's what I'm saying. Am I smarter? I can't say I'm smarter because I don't know 100% what he knows.
That's why I say I'm mediocre.
Right.
I'm somewhat smart, but certain things, like you stated, certain things, not all the things, but everything. But yeah.
And then when it comes to, because also he and I are into computer information stuff. And so when he had finally come back into my life, I was 20, about to turn 21. He was doing computer repair stuff.
Gotcha.
What did I end up doing 2-3 years later? Computer repair stuff.
Oop, there it is.
You get what I mean?
Right.
And so, and even with that, now that I'm hindsight looking back, that both of us were looking to become A+ certified at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So can I tear a computer apart, put it back together, all that stuff? I can. That's not a problem. And I've been doing it, and that's what I went to school for too.
Gotcha.
Eventually. But as far as going the extra mile or whatever, I didn't, because at that time I had got married, started a family or whatever. Right. So I didn't want to take away the time and energy, and that was the difference.
Right.
Too.
Right.
So am I can't say I'm smarter. I can't. I just feel softer because I didn't get. It's like, so my mom's boyfriend, he was really hard on my brother and I, like really hard on us. And so if I had that as a comparison, because he was around longer, then I would say, yes, I'm definitely softer. Okay. But I didn't want, again, how much discipline does one person need to have? Right. You get what I mean? And now, have I truly gotten over it? Somewhat. You get what I'm saying? Right. I mean, how many of us really do? In all honesty, we deal with it, or we kind of get an idea when we get older. Right. That's when sometimes you just sit back and reflect, like, I mean, I understood, now, especially because you're older now. Right. And you're more understanding of it, but it's still going to be stuck in the back of your head. So unfortunately, right? When we look at these kids that be walking up and down the block, I'm like, yo, if this was back in the day,
They wouldn't last.
Yeah.
Right. They would not last.
If it was back in the day, that neighbor
last.
you just ran up on his grass after he just cut it, and you already know he don't want you to on his grass. Well, guess what? Next go round, you would have been caught and dealt with.
Pretty much.
And then now dealt with, then you would have been taken to your parent.
Right, and you get dealt with twice.
Right.
Twice.
So there are some things that I understand older now. Like, you know what? That some of that was needed because that caused you to respect.
Right. That's that word, respect.
Which we unfortunately don't know the definition of right now.
True.
We demand it from other people, but we don't want to give it back.
Nope.
And I think that's where we are struggling with.
Yeah, like we contradicting ourselves.
And so now, if we're doing that, do the kids respect us?
Nope.
Do they look up to us?
Depends.
Right.
Depends. It depends what you're doing.
And so now, so because of that, are they going to continue to look up to all the celebrities and stuff?
To a certain point, yeah. Depends. Once again, depends.
Right.
It depends who that celebrity is and what they are about.
Well, here's the reason I'm saying that, because it seemed like they, from what I hear and see or whatever it is, they give more respect to those that look like they made it, they got it going on or whatever, versus, again, like I just said something to the wife not too long ago. I think we talked about it here on the podcast. Like, I remember when they used to have career fairs back in the day. And they used to talk about, the basic jobs.
Right. But they still had those.
Yeah, but not the same way. It's not the same way.
Okay.
Like listening to my daughter doing her thing, in her community and going to all these other places, it's not the same.
Gotcha.
It's not the same, because when these kids start talking about who they want to be, it's not the person right next door. It's not like it's their teacher, not like that.
Nah,
it's
somebody 1,000 miles away.
Right.
Yeah, I want to be. Come on now. But you want to be like that person, but you don't want to go through the steps.
Right.
That don't make sense.
Right. But then here's the other side of that too. Like, I was talking to my mom about us doing this podcast stuff. And she said, oh, wow, it's like a lot of work. Mom, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because some people, they might just hop on a microphone and call it a day.
Right.
Well, Mike, what do we go through right before we got on the microphone a day?
Right.
You get what I mean?
Right.
And so I think that's the part that people don't always understand. So are we smarter? Are we softer? I think you nailed it. It all depends on you.
It all depends on you. Correct. Yep.
So I want to know what your thoughts are, on this. Let us know.
Just definitely let us know. Social media, we out there.
Oh, we are, most definitely. And you know what? We had great conversation today. We're going to see where we're going to take y'all, a little further. We'll see. So just continue to listen out and see what we're talking about. We're just going to throw that little bug out there.
That's right. Till then, stay cool.
Yup. We
Peace.
talk to y'all. Peace.
Thanks for hanging out with us on the Naybors podcast.
You know what?
We hope you enjoyed the conversation and felt right at home. If you like what you heard, don't be a stranger. Subscribe, leave us a review, and share this with your friends and fam. Got something on your mind or a topic you'd love to hear us talk about? Hit us up. Until next time, remember, we're all just neighbors working together for a better community. Stay safe, stay connected, and we'll catch you in the next one.